What's going on, boys? I'm back with another video, and today I'm going to be giving you guys some tips on how to transfer your creative skills to your in-game fights. I know a lot of players who do really well in creative, but seem to struggle a lot in real game scenarios, so whether you're on console or PC, everything I'm going to highlight in this video is going to be able to help you out. One of the biggest struggles that I see a lot of players have is their confidence. In creative, you don't only have to be a confident player to win rounds. There's not a lot of environmental factors that impact your gameplay, but the problem stems from your playstyle in creative. The vast majority of players have a really passive playstyle that allows them to be good at winning rounds, but not good at fighting in a competitive environment. If you're that kid in creative who's always DC ramping in zone wars, or just never really in the mix, I can guarantee you that you have a confidence issue and can't rely on your actual fighting ability. It's not entirely your fault, because most players are conditioned to play a certain way based on who they hang around. If your entire friend group has bad habits, then you're going to develop those habits as well. The worst part is that a lot of players build a really big ego because it's easy to get good at being passive and creative, and quite frankly, it's rewarding. You're going to win your tokens in drafts, but you aren't going to develop as a player, and most importantly, as a fighter. On the other side of that are the over-aggressives in creative. These typically are younger players who put 100% of their effort into looking flashy in terms of their mechanics, but completely ignore the fundamentals of the game and struggle in real game scenarios not because of their fighting ability, but because of decisional errors. I know a lot of people who are hyper mechanical. When you put them in a solo cash cup, they get 22 points in 7 games. I say it all the time, fast mechanics are great, but with no skill behind them, they're completely useless. Players like Polarized, Cooper, Cold, and Mr. Savage are all hyper mechanical players, but they didn't ignore the true fundamentals of the game, and that's why they're all tier 1 pros. Every single pro plays creative, but the key difference is that they only apply good habits to their gameplay. That's why they rapidly improve and continue to dominate as fighters. Becoming a good fighter is a process, and you have to dive deep to learn those bad habits and wipe them out of your playstyle. It's going to take some time, but it's one of the most rewarding things you can gain in all of Fortnite. When it comes to actually understanding how to fight in-game, you have to know these 3 key aspects of fighting, and those are pressuring, damage management, and situational awareness. Let's start with pressuring. Pressuring ability is the biggest differentiator between pros and casual players. To be a god fighter, you have to understand how to pressure. Constantly moving around your opponent's box, spraying multiple walls, phasing builds when you can, and just being that intensive threat to them is crucial. Pressure forces your opponent into a bad position so that you can capitalize on it and get the kill. I've watched way too many fights where one player's on height, just doing absolutely nothing, and letting their opponent heal on low ground. Giving your opponent the chance to reset the fight and heal is how you waste more resources and open more opportunities for third parties to roll up. In creative, a lot of players just completely drag out every fight. That constant back and forth looks really entertaining, but in game you never want your fights to come down to your last heals and last materials. Most players who struggle in game just completely can't pressure their opponent. Now, let's talk about damage management. In a fight, you have to be conscious of the amount of damage you've dealt and be in control of how much damage you give up. If you give up damage while pressuring, it's going to force you to stop and pop your heals, giving your opponent time to heal as well. But if you're able to pressure in a way that allows you to take minimal damage and still be in a high pressure position, it's going to help you out a ton. Being in full control of how much damage you take can be pretty difficult, but one of the best ways to make sure you aren't giving up unnecessary damage is to stay on right hand peaks and try not to make edits while your opponent has their shock now. If you watch a lot of pros, the biggest thing you'll see is that they make themselves extremely hard to hit, and that's why they're able to fight so well. The crazy thing about it is the fact that it's not conscious decisions for pros to move a certain way and edit at a certain time. It all stems from good habits built over a long but consistent period of time. Now, onto situational awareness. Situational awareness is your ability to make the proper decision based on the scenario. Being aware of what's happening around you and being able to interpret that information and make a good decision is very important. Pros always seem to know what play to make and when to make it. That's true mastery of situational awareness. For me personally, the fastest way I developed my in-game fighting was by playing an absurd amount of solo ranked, but not just playing mindlessly. Actively playing and being a proactive fighter. Creating those opportunities for myself and not just sitting around waiting for my opponent to do something. I know the majority of you watching this video are at the point of your game where your aim or mechanics aren't the problem anymore. It's the fact that you just haven't developed the skill it takes to actually become a good fighter. Overall, by mastering the 3 aspects of fighting I highlighted and changing the way you approach your fights in creative, you'll see massive improvements to your competitive fighting ability. Your bad habits aren't going to disappear overnight, and you aren't going to develop good habits overnight. Either way, if you're willing to stay consistent and actually mature, develop, and round out your skill set and mindset, you'll be able to flawlessly dominate in creative and your in-game fights. Creative is a really strong tool for improvement, but it can also be the biggest detriment to your improvement if it isn't used properly. With that being said, I'm going to end this video here. If you enjoyed, make sure you drop a like and a sub. Let me know in the comments what type of videos you guys like to see next, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.